Okay, now one that maybe is easier, and that is the BU Health Sciences campus. Some people look at it very positively, others look at it and say, well, there's some issues. But let's start with the positive. What do you think is the most positive impact?
Well, the most positive, there's two really positive impacts. And one of them is simply a focus on Johnson City. Johnson City has been totally forgotten. A lot of the investment from the state and the county was Binghamton-centric or Endicott-centric. And nobody was really paying attention to Johnson City, which falls under the town of Union, and so it just gets forgotten. So just having something located here, we're shining a light on this community that's in the direct center, that is the community surrounding the biggest employer, which is UHS, is critical. Number two, I think what's really wonderful is the fact that they are doing a repurposing and rehabilitation of the one big factory. And when we started this project, we were afraid that no one was going to keep any of the factories. And I don't think that you should keep every single historic building or every factory, but this entire village was created as a factory town. It did not exist until the Lester Boot and Shoe Company came here and built a factory, and then things, happened around it. So we have always been concerned that we keep the legacy in place, and there's at least a remnant of why this village started. So the fact that they're going to be doing that beautiful old factory, and then now Regan is doing the really old factories that came in very early, that keeps our project in context, and it also states to the person who's visiting, this is how this started. Now where it goes in the future, that's a whole nother dimension, but at least we have the legacy of the beginning of the village, and I think people want to know that and want to honor it.
Yeah, and that's why I said we're going to develop a cultural element as to, and we've had people suggest that to us, that it would be a good idea. But I think, there might be a threshold coming here too, where there are enough buildings that it's going to bring people that want to talk about the history of this area and the culture of this area.
One of the things, we created a health and cultural master plan, and within that master plan, we identified a walking path that's like, I think it's 1 mile, and then there's an additional second mile that goes up to CFJ Park. But we have noted where those historic stops are, and those are places where we could have podcasts and things like that, and historic markers, if not mural imagery or
could we call on you again in the future to tell us where some of this thing?
Oh, yes.
We could put that into the cultural.
Yes,
part.
definitely. And we also made a national registered district, and so we identified anything that had history. And we also did, the building that we have our offices in is the old EJ Medical building. Now, it's not a building that EJ built. It was a billiard hall and a creamery. But he then took it over and turned it into an infirmary, a dentist office, all those things when he took those things out of the original factory. So we're not saving that building because it's been modified so many times and it's not a good building and it's falling down around our ears. But we did document the story using some state resources. And the story of what I believe, and someone could research and it'd be a great master's thesis, is that I believe this was the first medical plan offered to workers in the country. And it was one that actually made money. So I think it's a very important story now. And the whole idea that EJ gave back to their workers with the hot lunch, with the fresh vegetables, with the recreation, with the culture, with the medical. And it all started in this little intersection, which is the intersection that's being saved, really, and brought back to life by the university and our project. So this is kind of the intersection where the idea of the person the employer and the employee working together and having this kind of balanced life of work, play, health actually started. So I think it's really interesting that that's now where the university is located, where we've got our project located. So this can once again become that intersection of culture, economic development, and science. I think that's incredible
I gotta
that
tell
that
you why
has
I'm
come back.
smiling is because with a couple of other people, we're putting in a federal proposal that's due in January to talk about trying to archive and create another one of these story maps about all of this. This would be cultural and historical. You would be a great consultant if I can call on
Oh,
you.
sure. I'm more than happy to, and I would also be able to identify who the consultants and local people are
That'd be
who
ideal.
are who have the most reliable history and are the most forthcoming.
I will be contacting you.
Yes,
Thank you
because
very
they're
much.
still around and they know the stories.
Well, this is
and-
why we want to capture some of this now.
Yes,
too. You know,
it's-
you're not going to capture it 20 years from now.
True.
Right.
And Mrs. Scanlon,
Okay?
who is EJ's granddaughter, is no spring chicken. So you might want to talk to her sooner than later.
Absolutely.